Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience, proudly heard here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. WABC, as we like to say, it is the crown jewel of radio, heard in over 173 countries in all 50 states, beaming out of New York City, the nation, the world, and I'm sure even out to the cosmos. You can listen to the Dr. Sky Experience live radio show every Friday evening, midnight to 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Eastern Daylight Time, and a separate show, an additional radio show, Saturday night, midnight into 2 a.m. Sunday mornings, Eastern Daylight Time. And we do appreciate you as we talk about the great subjects of astronomy, space, aviation and weather, celebrity guests in the mix, and stories of American exceptionalism. If you'd like to email me, that's easy, and I do promise to respond to all. It's just DRSKY, simply Dr. Sky at WABCRadio.com. And if you'd like, of course, to follow the many podcast archives that we have at the Dr. Sky Experience, simply go inside this website, WABCRadio.com, and also heard on RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. This report is from about the mid-portion of July 2025 to the early portion of August. How time flies. Welcome to the dog days of summer. What are those? You hear that often. The media talks about it. You may have heard the term dog days. Well, let's go back into Egyptian mythology and astronomy. The great Egyptians, with the marvelous technology they had to build pyramids, canals, agriculture, and the mummification process of many pharaohs and important individuals. We find out that there's a term called the heliacal rising of Sirius. Now, not to get overly technical, heliacal means sunrise or sun rising. And Sirius is the brightest star, that is the nighttime brightest star in all the heavens other than our daytime sun. So the ancient Egyptians noticed during this kind of period in generalities, now time has changed, that as the sun was rising or just before it, the brilliant star Sirius was there. And that star was worshipped as a god. Sapdet was the god. That was a time when the Egyptians knew to begin part of their agricultural cycle, the flooding of the Nile, the agricultural season to plant and later to harvest crops. So when you hear the term dog days of summer, know that it has an astronomical connection, and I find that most fascinating. Also interesting is the mid-portion of that time, or approximately from July 3 to August 11, is right around July the 22nd. So just know, as we go through this hot and sultry summer, that the term dog days, you heard it here on the Dr. Sky Experience, on our Dr. Sky Update. Let's begin with the moon, Earth's nearest neighbor. We find the moon at this particular time, after coming after that beautiful full thunder moon on the 10th, moving on to last quarter, meaning it rises around midnight on the 18th of July. Then the moon continues to wane. Each morning, if you're up early, you'll see less and less of the surface of that moon illuminated. It moves on to the dark of the moon, as we call it, a new moon, and that's the start of lunation number 1269. And that doesn't mean there's 1,269 lunations since the moon was around. It means that certain astronomers put this into a cycle back in the early 1930s. Then the moon will wax, naturally. You could look for it low into the west-northwest by probably around the evening of, say, the 23rd. And I know many observers will look right after that new moon to see the earliest and thinnest moon. Just what is the thinnest moon? There have been observers that have seen a moon right out of new, the thinnest of all crescents, maybe what? Maybe less than 16 hours after new moon. But let's not take away from the beauty of it. That beautiful crescent moon is something to behold. Get out those binoculars and telescopes, and I assure you, as Dr. Sky is your guide to the heavens, we will, of course, talk about important things happening on these celestial objects. The moon is just a beautiful object to see. But it's also the nemesis for many people who want serious dark skies to view galaxies, meteor showers, and more on that as we move on. As you move into the upcoming weekend, right around the 19th, early morning observers will see the planet Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, exceptionally bright, as always, during the pre-dawn hours. If you look at the planet Venus and right near it, a few degrees either left or right, depending when you're listening to this, there's a red star. That star is the key star or the eye of the zodiac sign Taurus the bull. The star name is Aldebaran, and it's some 65 light years away. That's incredible. While the moon itself, and the planet Venus, of course, that adorn the sky, Venus is moving away from us, and certainly the star Aldebaran is at 65 light years away. So what were you doing 65 years ago when you see the light of Aldebaran now? It simply means that the light has traveled that long, so you're seeing something like a time machine when you look in the sky. Now let's take a look at the sky as we go toward new moon. Remember, the new moon is when no moon is visible. It's a great time if you're on vacation or literally live, we envy you, in a super dark location. So the darker the moon is the time of period you'd want to look for faint sky objects. So here, if you're on vacation and you're a city dweller, here's a Dr. Sky tip. Right around 10 p.m., 11 p.m., look due south. Have a pair of binoculars if you're in a cloudless sky and fairly dark, if not very dark. You'll see the beauty of the central portion of our Milky Way galaxy. You'll see the beautiful constellation Scorpius the Scorpion, and to the left of it in the star field, it looks like a teapot in the sky as far as the stars, the way they're aligned. That's Sagittarius. So right between Scorpius and Sagittarius, those of you with star charts, you'll be able to identify the specifics. You'll see the core of the Milky Way. The naked eye will show this as a big wispy band of white light. Telescopes and binoculars will reveal more. And here's a Dr. Sky tip. If you're not a person who has access to a smartphone or looks at it and curses it toward the sky because you see the light of the phone making it difficult for you to see the dark sky, well, here's a tip. We recommend skymaps.com. You can download a free paper star chart every month. Beautiful. And you may say, well, wait a minute, how am I going to see it in the dark? Always in the world of astronomy, we recommend a red flashlight. Yes, a red flashlight, because that doesn't disturb your eyes as if you were looking at your smartphone, except if you have a smartphone that puts it into a red screen, but that's a little more complicated. So take a look at that. But right there in the constellation Scorpius, to the right of Sagittarius, at the very tail near the stinger, are two stars. They're fairly bright. In astronomy, they refer to them as the cat's eyes. It's Lambda and Upsilon Scorpii. But to us, those two stars have a name. They're literally at the tail or the stinger of the Scorpion. One is Lesath and the other is the star Shaul. Both of these are visible, and that's why when you see them together, some people have determined that they look like the eyes of a cat, but you have to make up your mind. Also important, if you go to the right of that area of Scorpius and above it, just a few degrees, you'll notice what some people call the 13th sign of the zodiac. And this happens to be, ladies and gentlemen, a group of stars called Ophiuchus. There are many distinct pronunciations. Ophiuchus was a witch doctor. Take a man like Hercules from mythology. He has a snake in his hand, and he's literally tearing the head off the snake. And our guy, Ophiuchus, the witch doctor, also happens to be a pharmacist. Just kidding. He pours everything from the snake into a mortar and pestle, and he goes and grinds it up and says, here, you got back pain or neck pain or whatever pain, use this stuff. And I'm not trying to be funny, because it's very interesting to note that the symbol for Ophiuchus is the same as that of the medical world, caduceus, a staff with snakes wrapped around it. So what's interesting is Ophiuchus may be considered the 13th sign of the zodiac. Why? Because when the sun moves through the ecliptic path, that is the path of the solar system, planetary path, it goes through some of the star regions, the lower left foot of Ophiuchus. So if you follow this literally, if the sun moves through a sign or a constellation, why shouldn't it be called a sign of the zodiac? It's not official, but it's just interesting nonetheless. Now, for you more serious observers out there, pay attention to the evening, or morning, I should say, of July the 18th. Something's interesting happening with the planet Saturn. It rises around midnight. Every so often, Saturn's rings, like every 15 years, go edge on. Then they open up, then they close. But right now, we're nearly edge on. So what's going to happen on the early morning hours of July 18th is the largest moon of Saturn, Titan, the largest moon in the solar system with a major atmosphere, it's going to throw its shadow onto the big ball of Saturn. Now you may say, why is that important? For East Coast observers, it begins at 3 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on July the 18th, and it lasts till 8:05. That is the shadow moving across Saturn, the ball of Saturn. Now you won't see that when the sun is up. But it begins at midnight for Pacific Daylight Time, and it goes on till 5:05 a.m. So people in the western part of the United States may have a better opportunity at seeing. Very interesting indeed. On Saturday morning, sky watchers taking a look at the moon will see the moon move through a star field called the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. So if you're up early enough and catch that before sunrise, take a pair of binoculars and look at the moon and those little stars that are around it. Some of them will be eclipsed or occulted. That's fascinating. But I think the biggest event as we close out the month of July may be, for many, the beautiful southern Delta Aquarid meteor shower. Now, we talk about meteor showers here on the Dr. Sky Experience all the time. So pay attention to the night of July 30th into the morning of the 31st. Look into the southern part of the sky after midnight to sunrise, and if you have dark skies, because the moon will not interfere, that's a big bonus, you may get to see up to 20 of these so-called shooting stars. Remember, they're not stars, they're debris from comets. And this one is thought to be debris from comet 96P, comet Machholz. 96P means the 96th periodic comet discovered, and that can be quite an interesting sight. The Delta Aquarids can produce meteors that leave trails in the sky, like you'd see jet contrails, but not always. So those are some of the more fascinating things that we can talk about for July. Your questions and comments to my email is just drsky@wabcradio.com. And we do appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you'd like to call in to our live shows, again, midnight Friday Eastern Daylight Time to 2 a.m. Saturday mornings Eastern Daylight Time, and Saturday midnight to Sunday 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The number to get in touch with us on our many great guests is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And the 9222, what does it stand for? WABC. I'm Dr. Sky, wishing you the best for health and happiness and clear skies. Dr. Sky reminds you always to continue to keep your eyes to the skies and observe this beautiful heaven that we have above us. Because as of now, there's no tolls on this highway, and I'm simply the humble navigator of your journey as you expand, all of us expand our knowledge, talking about the great mysteries on this highway to the heavens that as of yet has no tolls on it. Clear skies. We'll see you soon.